Now, over the weekend, the two big European football competitions were decided. On Friday night, Sevilla beat Inter Milan 3-2 in an amazing game. Sevilla, of course, had knocked Manchester United out earlier in the week. And last night, Paris Saint-Germain were beaten 1-0 by Bayern Munich in the final of the Champions League. It's been the longest Champions League in history. It began the qualifying rounds last July, and it ended last night. And we're joined now to talk about the game by John Giles, who played in the Leeds United team. They were beaten 1-0, or 2-0 rather, by Bayern Munich in Paris in 1975. John, I know there's still a little bit of pain involved because you felt on the night you were robbed.
Well, it certainly looked that way, Eamon. We had a couple of decisions. There was one decision in particular in the first half where Beckenbauer could only get to the ball with Alan Clark by going through him, which he did. It was a very obvious penalty, and it gave a throw in, and then it was a goal disallowed. So it looked a bit dodgy to us.
Yeah,
Eamon.
yeah.
I should, believe it or not, it was my last match for Leeds.
Right, yeah. Well,
Jimmy Armfield kicked me out after that, Eamon.
Okay, but it's a huge occasion. It is now, I think, even more than it was back then when it was the European Cup. The Champions League now is probably the most coveted trophy in the world, World Cup included, in my opinion. And last night's game was close, was fascinating. I thought Paris Saint-Germain had the better of the first half, John, and they, with a bit of luck and a bit less ability by the German goalkeeper Neuer, they could have taken the lead.
Yeah, they had a couple of chances early on there. I mean, they had a couple of chances. I think Neymar actually had a couple of chances, was one of the lads. And at that stage, again, it's all ifs and buts in football, as we know. I mean, if they'd scored at that particular time, then you'd have a different game altogether. But to be fair to Bayern Munich, they came back well, Eamon. I think they deserve to win it. Certainly deserve to win the cup with the results that they've had leading up to the final. They've been absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, Mbappe had a real good chance in the first half, and it was a tame finish, and Neuer was able to save it. That was the best chance, I thought, that PSG had. Now Mbappe's been injured for the latter half of the season. He's battled with injuries. He only played 30 minutes in the game against Leipzig. A very fruitful 30 minutes because he made the winning goal, but he didn't really show up last night, and Neymar didn't show up either, John. Now, we've seen Neymar, two sides of Neymar really. He played well in the semi-final, and indeed, going back, he played well for Barcelona, who were 4-1 down from a game in Paris, and they pulled it back, and he was the man of the match in the Camp Nou. So he has got it in him, but he's playing in a weak league, the French league. He likes the good life, and last night he was back to diving and not really making an impact on the game.
No, I think the previous two matches, Eamon, I think we spoke about it before, he was very, very good, great attitude and that. And I think he started off well last night, Eamon. Yeah. And then wasn't getting anything, and then went back to his old ways.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yep.
By the time they came into the second half, he was diving all over the place. He was the Neymar that we saw in a lot of matches, which is not the great Neymar anyway, that's for sure.
No, and in the last World Cup it was very obvious. He was playing on the left side of a front three for Brazil, and really it was an acting class. Yeah,
well that's been too much of a part of his career, Eamon. Again, I go back to the two matches now before last night, where he wasn't playing on the left-hand side of the field. He was staying in the middle of the field, more or less in the middle of the field, and he was very, very good. I expected more of him last night. I think, when it started off, he started off well, but when the going got tough in the second half, he definitely reverted back to the diving and messing about. And at that stage, they were never going to come back into the game. Bayern Munich when you look at the competition overall, Eamon, and the teams they played and beaten Bayern Munich, they were good champions, weren't they?
Oh, very much so. And I mean, we just have to look back to a game against Spurs in London, which they won 7-2, and then a game at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea, which they won 3-0. They are champions in Germany again. They won the German Cup as well, and they were, and it showed when the really important moments came last night. They're fit, strong. Everyone's having a go, and the coach Hansi Flick took an interesting decision before the game last night. He dropped Perisic, who'd played in the semi-final, and brought Kingsley Coman into the side as a left winger. Coman had been on the subs bench for the semi-final, started last night, and he's a kid who was born in Paris and was part of PSG's youth programme, and he really played well last night. Might have had a penalty before half-time. I thought he should have, actually. What did you think of that decision? I thought it was a penalty.
Yeah, it was touch and go, Eamon. You know, I think what's happening now with a lot of, not just this lad, but they make the most of it, you know. I think they make the most of it. And I think it goes against them sometimes. Yeah. You know, he did get a touch on it, and certainly it was a good call. But it might have overdone the fall, which then puts the doubt into the referee's head, you know. And I think that's probably why he didn't do it. But they're going back to the manager. I mean, what a job he's done. And,
they've only lost two games since he took over, but when he did take over, they were in bad shape. Thomas Muller, for example, had been bombed out. First thing he did when he took over last November, he brought Thomas Muller back into the side. And he's a hell of a player, John, isn't he? You know, he's made a big contribution.
I thought he'd gone, Eamon. Yeah. I thought Muller had gone. I mean, he's been a terrific player over the years. But in the last year or two, I thought maybe he wasn't getting on with the coach. You never know what's going on in the football club. Yeah. But this fella brought him back in. And he just rejuvenated the whole squad in the way that they played and the enthusiasm when they didn't have the ball. And that. So it shows you what a good coach can do. I mean, making the right decisions, bringing Muller back, getting the team playing the way they did. What a job he's done. He's done an absolutely brilliant job there.
And he had to make a big call last night. And he made the call, and Kingsley Coman scored the winning goal. And it was a good move, and it was a good goal. A really good header on the far post. But Kimmich, who played really well at right back, and is a very good player, John. He can play centre defence, midfield, or right back. He delivered a lovely cross, and that was the most critical moment in the game when Coman stuck it away. And it wasn't a gift, was it?
No, he played really well, Coman. Apart from his goal, you know, he carried the ball well. He was beating players. He was doing his stuff. He looked a really, really good player. I don't remember seeing him before, but he looked a really good player. And of course, getting the winning goal is the biggest thing in the match. So it turned out, I think, you know, over the period of time that he's become manager, Eamon, they seem to have got better and better, and coming to their best form coming into this particular competition. Has been absolutely brilliant coaching and management.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting stories as well in this Bayern team. The left back, Alphonso Davies, was born in a refugee camp and lived there for years, which is an amazing story when you consider where he's finished up from where he began. The other great story is Robert Lewandowski, John. Jurgen Klopp signed him for Dortmund from a Polish team for 3 million. Imagine. And he took him to Dortmund, and according to Lewandowski, Klopp had a big influence on him, gave him confidence, and Klopp's, as we've seen at Liverpool, his ability to improve players over a period of time. And Lewandowski scored 50 odd goals this year. Between all competitions. What do you make of him, John? I think he's a wonderful player.
Yeah, he's an old-fashioned centre forward, Eamon. Yeah, you know, which is he can hold the ball up. He's not particularly dainty on the ball, but very, very effective. He's quick. I think he's 32 now. Yeah, and like all players, Eamon, that really look after themselves well, that's a peak time for players. You hear people say, "Oh, he's 32 now; he's getting on a bit." I think it should be the peak time for players, and that's what my experience of players, great players, is that they look after themselves. They get to 31, 32. They have the experience behind them. They don't make silly runs. They really learn the game, and that's it. And that's what he's done.
Yeah.
And his attitude has always been good.
Yes, yeah, and he leads the line well.
50 odd goals. Sorry, Eamon.
He leads the line well, quite apart from the goals he scores, which, even in the first half last night, he hit the post from a half chance, but he leads the line well. His movement across the line, you can find him with a long pass, and he's a very diligent worker for the team, as well as, and the goals then, of course, are the bonus.
Yeah, well, I'd say he's one of the old-fashioned centre forwards.
Yeah.
In terms that his main job is to lead the line, which he does extremely well. Apart from scoring his goals, obviously his goal scoring is hugely important, but he makes goals for other people. He leads the line, he brings people into the game, and you can see by his attitude, and I think with this new coach coming in as well, Eamon, his attitude is great. He's totally unselfish. He's never played for himself and been greedy on the ball or anything like that. And he's a perfect example for any player, any centre forward that's playing.
Yeah.
To be able to copy him and see what he does and his attitude. He's got, as they say with players like him, Eamon, the older they get, the better they seem to get, which he has done. And only because he's learned his game and he's looked after himself. You said 50-odd goals there. I just thought it's 59 goals to him, almost 60. So that's incredible. Yes. Incredible for any centre forward. And he's not a dainty boy.
No.
But he plays every game. He has a go in every. I haven't seen him where he hasn't been having a go. Eamon, he's not moody. You hear about players on their day and when he's in the mood. You don't hear that about top players, and he's one of those.
A player you could compare him to, and I think he compares pretty favourably, is Harry Kane, who I don't think does the work up there. Is much more inclined to drop deep. Whereas Lewandowski he's making the central defenders make decisions all the time. He'll run in behind them. He'll show for the ball. It's a good comparison to make, if you like, because in England there's an awful lot made of Harry Kane, and I know both of us have liked him more. I think I liked him a lot more when he was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He was scoring goals and he was a bit more diligent. Now I think he's got a bit of attitude. But Lewandowski and they're the same shape, but Lewandowski does different kind of work.
Yeah, they're very similar in many ways, Eamon. I think if you put Harry Kane into the Bayern Munich team, you'd see a different Harry Kane.
Yeah.
I think what happens with Harry Kane, I think he takes too much responsibility on himself, Eamon. So if the team is not playing well, he goes deeper and deeper as if he can do something about it.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think it's a fault of his, but it's sort of a good fault. He wants to get into the game and he wants to contribute to the game, but he doesn't have the players around him that Lewandowski does. So I think the better the players he had around him, you wouldn't see him going quite as deep. He'd be up in the position that Lewandowski takes. So they are similar in many ways because like Kane when he's up front is in many ways an old-fashioned centre forward as well. But I think the better the team he'd play in, Kane, Eamon, I think he's too good a lad in many ways. I don't think he's being big-headed doing what he does. Right. I think he's thinking, I'm up the field here, I'm not getting a pass, I better go back and do something about it. Yeah. Which is not the right thing to do. He'd be better staying where he is and just wait and be patient.
Now, I know from talking to Damien Duff how highly Damien rates Mourinho as a coach, and there's no questioning Mourinho's record in terms of getting silverware with a number of different clubs. He's won the Champions League with Inter. He won it, of course, famously with Porto, and he won it did he win it with Chelsea? Anyway, the point I want to make about him is, as a coach, he should be the one to fix Harry Kane, shouldn't he? And that's a big sort of task you would think he'd relish if he is the coach.
Yeah, I
People
think.
say
Yeah,
he is.
I think if he improves the team, Eamon, I think it will automatically improve Harry Kane.
Yeah.
I mean, Kane is his main man, and I think there's or seems to be a good relationship there. And I think he would encourage him to stay up the field at times when he is coming a little bit too deep. I would imagine so, Eamon. But I think if he improves the team, then Kane will not do what he's doing at the moment, which is a fault in coming too deep and taking too much responsibility on himself.
Now, while I was watching the Champions League games this week, not just the final last night, but the other games as well, with Leipzig, Atalanta, for example, I was thinking this should be Liverpool, and they are the best team in Europe. And it's a great shame that their goalkeeper, Adrian, allowed a very soft goal in to give Atletico a priceless away goal in Anfield. Liverpool are miles ahead of the two teams we saw last night, John. Well, certainly miles ahead of PSG, but Liverpool Bayern would be a good game. But I'd fancy Liverpool.
Yeah, I think Liverpool are the best team at the moment. Eamon. It would have been a good game because there'd be no. I'm not saying there'd be a pushover, but there wouldn't be a pushover for anybody, Bayern Munich. But I think Liverpool, at their best, would be the best team in it.
Okay,
if
now
they were in it, but you have to get there, Eamon. They didn't get there.
Yeah. No, there's no place.
It's all ifs and buts.
Yeah. Now we both fancied Inter to beat Sevilla, John. Only one of us put money on it, and Inter took the lead. Lukaku scored a penalty.
Yeah,
and the Spanish side had a really hard game against United. They'd looked vulnerable. United created a flurry of chances at the beginning of the second half. Yet they came back, Sevilla. I wouldn't have fancied them at all, but they came back and won what was really a very exciting game.
No, they did. Yeah, they did well, Eamon. I tell you, there's one thing about them. They show the courage and fighting spirit that you need in any team. Because against England, as you said there, they were getting a hiding for a long spell, but they kept at it, kept at it, finished up winning it. And it was a bit similar to the Inter match. Inter seemed to be well on top at one stage, but they stuck at it. So it shows that the morale of the team has to be good. The coach has to be good to create that morale, because you see a lot of teams in situations like that, when they're not well managed or well coached, Eamon, they just pack it in.
Yep.
There was no packing in from the Spanish team. They kept at it well and did brilliantly to go on and win it. Really, really well.
Yeah, and the coach is a very interesting character. He's a Spaniard, and I think he's going off to China to make some money. But he was the coach of Spain.
Yeah.
And when he was at Real Madrid, he agreed a deal behind the club's back, or behind the association's back, to manage Real Madrid. The association found out and sacked him. He went to Madrid and he lasted 14 games. So he deserved a bit of luck. But back to Inter, they had Lukaku, of course, Ashley Young as well. Ericsson went there from Spurs. And can't get in the side. He came on with 12 minutes to go the other night and did very little. Victor Moses came on as a sub. He was with Conte at Chelsea. And that Inter team, it looks like they're living off scraps, John. The players that can't really cut it in the Premier League anymore. And I feel sorry for Conte. I feel even sorry for him because I read in the paper this morning that he's lost 25 million in some kind of scam in London.
Oh,
yes. You have to wonder where he got the 25 million in the first place, but that's another day's work. But Sevilla have won 6 Europa League titles. It's an amazing record. And the real fascinating point of it for me, John, is they are a team of journeymen. Like they wouldn't be signing big checks. I'd say, and neither are Inter signing big checks, the 100 million United paid for Pogba would cover all 22 players in that Europa League final.
Yeah, well, it's a difficult thing to do, to have success with players like that. So it goes back to the coach or the manager, whatever we call them in Spain, to be doing the job they're doing. If you get a good coach, they can make the most of situations that nobody else can. I mean, a similar situation would be, say, Sheffield United. Last year, the coach is obviously good.
Yeah.
He's got. I mean, you couldn't imagine. I don't think. Well, apart from the goalkeeper who belongs to Manchester United anyway, you couldn't see Manchester United going for any of their players.
No,
their outfield players. But because as a group, they're made into a team because of the work they do and the work that the coach does and gets. They still get good players in, Eamon.
Yeah.
But lads who are intelligent, football intelligent, that can learn the game from the coach, and the coach has an influence over them. So he makes something of nothing, really, in many ways.
I mean, in the semi-final, De Jong came on and he scored the winner against United. He had been at Newcastle, John, and was not a success. He actually started the final against Inter, and again, he did the business. So here's a guy who couldn't make an impact in the Premier League, and just to bear out what you're saying, he goes to a club where he is going to get games, good coach, and away goes. So
it depends where you go, Eamon. I don't know who's the manager at Newcastle at that particular time, but I don't think Newcastle have been well managed for quite a number of years now. Well, I think Steve Bruce has done a better job with them last year. So when you go, anybody goes into a club like that. I mean, it's like this lad that was playing last night. Eamon, what's the lad that was at West Brom and Arsenal?
Oh yeah, Serge Gnabry.
Gnabry.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a case if you're talking about what can happen to players.
Yeah.
He was at Arsenal, goes to West Brom under Tony Pulis.
Yeah.
He plays 12 minutes, Eamon. In the spell he was there, and he was sent back to Arsenal.
Yeah.
Even before his loan spell was up.
Yeah.
And then doesn't do it at Arsenal. He's sold for 5 million or something. And turns out, he didn't play very well yesterday, but he's turned out to be a terrific player. So it shows you the influence that you can come under in any club.
Yes.
How a club can be transformed, how players can be transformed by good managers and good coaches, or bad managers and bad coaches.
Yes.
It's very, very... It's a most unusual game in that particular way.
Yes, the environment you're
good
in.
Good managers, good. Yeah. Again, you go back to Chris Wilder there now at Sheffield United. I fancied them. I didn't know much about Sheffield United. I thought they'd go down. I'd struggle to stay up this year. And they were very, very good. As we saw, they beat some of the top teams playing really, really good football. And you would look at most of the team and say, yeah, the good workers, the good workman-like players without being outstanding.
Yeah.
But it's what you make of the whole is better than what makes up the individuals, or lack of talent in the individuals.
Yeah,
as a team thing. Anyway, I'm going on about that.
No, Gnabry is a good example. There was a big headline after he scored that brilliant goal in the semi-final against Lyon. It said, "Eat your heart out, Tony." It's Tony Pulis.
Tony Pulis.
Yeah, and I was of course, he's used to up and under football and all of that. However, when I was looking at Gnabry last night, and he didn't play very well at all, John, didn't contribute very much. I was thinking Tony Pulis would be sitting at home and thinking he could never play. The way he talked.
But to be fair to the lad, he didn't play very well last night, Eamon. But he scored a lot of goals from this season. He looks, and in this particular competition, and he really looks a top player. There's no doubt about that.
No, he scored 2 against Tottenham. In London, and he was brilliant. So he is clearly a very good player. John, just a final question about Bayern Munich. They're definitely worthy champions. I would say Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool really regret the fact that they were knocked out so sort of easily by that goalkeeper mistake, and will be really up for it next year. They do need, don't they? We've talked about how good they are so often. They do need to really become the side we think they can become. They need to win leagues and cups, and they need to win them over the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, they've built. I think they've built. Klopp has built the foundation now.
Yeah.
To build a dynasty.
Yes.
Now, in football and in life, as we know, you never know what's going to happen.
No.
But all the signs are there for them to continue to do what they did last year and build on that.
Yeah.
Like Manchester United did and other teams did over the years. They're in that position now where he's done a great job. He's got terrific players in, and if everything stays as smoothly as we would expect them to, then they will go on to do, I believe, what the previous Liverpool teams have done and what Manchester United did in under Ferguson.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed. Them. You never know. As we know in life, you never know what's going to happen. Players might want to go. You might get a couple of injuries, but at the moment, the foundation is definitely there, and the foundation is very, 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 very strong for them to go on and do what the previous Liverpool teams have done, and definitely Manchester United have done.
Okay, John, we've 3 weeks to go, I think, or roughly 3 weeks until the Premier League is back. Thanks very much for your contribution today.